Operation Iron Tide began in the dark, long before any shots were fired. It was a war fought not with bullets, but with bandwidth and patience. A joint task force of the FBI and Naval Intelligence, operating under sealed federal warrants, descended upon a single point on the map, Laredo, Texas. For months, investigators built an invisible digital net across the city. Their mission: to dismantle the logistical hub of the ascendant Lone Star Cartel without alerting their dangerously sophisticated targets. The architecture of this net was immense: 84 hidden cameras, 57 audio sensors, and 12 satellite relays blanketed a 50-square-mile radius from the banks of the Rio Grande to the city's dusty outskirts. On the ground, FBI and Naval Intelligence operatives moved silently, disguised as everyday life, as city surveyors, telephone repairmen, and delivery drivers. They were ghosts in the system, their presence known only to a handful of commanders back in Washington. In a secure data triage center, analysts worked around the clock. They watched every handshake, every whisper, every late-night exchange, processing terabytes of raw data. Their job was to find the pattern, the single thread that could unravel the entire network. In just 3 weeks of peak surveillance, they logged 312 hours of high-interest video, intercepted 247 calls, and traced 19 separate wire transfers through a labyrinth of shell companies, totaling $43,250,000. It was the financial lifeblood of the operation. Then, the breakthrough. A single, heavily encrypted call between two cartel lieutenants, cracked after 72 hours of painstaking decryption, revealed the plan. The cargo was 4.5 tons of pure methamphetamine. Street value: an estimated $280 million. A staggering quantity, enough to poison 18 million people, nearly the entire population of Florida. The delivery method was audacious, not by truck or by ship, but by air, aboard a single-engine Piper PA-28 Cherokee. The aircraft was registered to a fraudulent humanitarian aid group, complete with flawless papers and a filed flight plan that looked entirely legitimate. Its destination was a private airstrip near San Diego, where the Lone Star Cartel's distribution network was poised to receive the shipment and disperse it across the country within hours. The digital ring, months in the making, was now closed. The stakes had never been higher. If that plane landed, the poison would scatter into countless communities, untraceable and unstoppable. Failure was not an option. America did not wait for the storm to break. It prepared to meet it head-on. With the target identified and the threat imminent, Operation Iron Tide was activated. At 4:50 a.m., October 30th, 2025, the skies went hot. A thin green line crept across the scope. The Piper flew low and silent, its transponder dark. The APG-81 AESA radar cut through the veil. Analysts tracked, the window to act collapsing fast. Intercept on the ground, risked civilians, and escape. Authorization cleared. The command came through.
Weapons free.
2 M120D missiles streaked into the dark, faster than screams. Mach 4 and closing. The first detonation tore the wing with a searing shockwave. The second struck true. Debris scattered across 2 square miles of ocean. 5 armed couriers died instantly. $280 million in meth turned to vapor and sinking ash. Target lost. Silence returned. But the quiet didn't last. New encrypted chatter surged. Intel pointed south. A fortress in the Tamaulipas desert. 4 buildings, 2 bunkers, motion lines, 27 guns on rotation. The network breathed, not dead, only warned. So the United States moved again. Fast, silent, and exact. The assault was a 2-pronged strike, meticulously planned for speed and overwhelming force. From the sea, 2 Seahawks lifted off, their rotors beating a path toward the coast, carrying elite Navy SEALs for vertical envelopment. On standby, a dedicated medevac bird circled offshore, a grim but necessary precaution for the high-risk operation ahead. Simultaneously, 3 rigid-hulled inflatable boats sliced through the dark water at 45 knots. On board, 40 Force Recon Marines, their faces set, manned heavy machine guns, ready for a direct amphibious breach. Their mission: breach, clear, and seize the facility, leaving no room for escape or destruction of evidence. Above, a network of drones provided a god's eye view, their thermal and optical sensors triangulating every guard post in real time. Every patrol route, every shadow was mapped and fed directly to the team leader's displays. The digital battlefield was set. At 6:49, execute. The command unleashed controlled chaos. Flashbangs detonated, their blinding light and concussive force disorienting the outer guards. Thick smoke shrouded the yard, masking the assault team's movements. SEALs fast roped onto the rooftops, seizing the high ground in seconds. Below, the Marines breached the main gate in 22 seconds, thermite charges melting steel like wax. Resistance was immediate but futile. 1,200 rounds were exchanged in under 2 minutes, a short, brutal, and surgically controlled firefight. A heavy machine gun mounted on a technical truck opened up, only to fall silent under a precise 30mm burst from the overwatching Seahawk. In the chaos, a stray round ignited a cache of processing chemicals. 1.2 tons of volatile precursors roared to flame, the inferno threatening to consume the very evidence they came to collect. But the teams demonstrated precision under pressure. Rooms were cleared, ground was taken, and the fire was contained. Radio channels crackled with brevity codes. All clear, sectors 1 to 4. By 7:08, all resistance had collapsed. The stronghold fell in 19 minutes. The seizure phase began immediately. 1.2 tons of finished product, 43 million in bundled cash, and stacks of precursor chemicals were cataloged under strict chain of custody protocols. But the real prize lay behind 6 inches of reinforced steel, a vault. Inside, a treasure trove of intelligence. 6 ledgers, 11 laptops, 9 burner phones, and 5 bank-grade encrypted hard drives. Each item was carefully bagged, tagged, and prepared for forensic imaging. The data was a Rosetta Stone of narco-finance. Analysts quickly mapped 700 wire transfers, revealing a flow of $116 million monthly through shell corporations in Panama, Curaçao, and Belize. With the evidence secured and all personnel extracted, the final phase began. At 9:17 a.m., 5 GBU-53B Stormbreaker smart bombs launched from carrier-based FA-18s. Their mission: deny the enemy sanctuary. The $100 million hub vanished, leaving only a blackened scar on the earth. The artery was severed, but the network, wounded and adapting, still lived. Beyond the numbers, beyond the tactical victories, lay the profound human cost. This wasn't a war fought only on the seas, but in the quiet desperation of forgotten towns. On the compound, investigators found 3 prisoners, not soldiers, not criminals, but civilians lured by deception and forced to work the poison. They were disposable assets in a brutal supply chain. Chemical burns scarred their skin, their hands permanently deformed by constant exposure to precursor chemicals. Their lungs were ravaged, their futures stolen. They had no protection. They were paid $10 a week. At night, they were chained to their bunks like animals. "We were promised jobs," one survivor recounted. "Good pay, a chance to send money home. They took us to the middle of nowhere, then the chains came out. For every captive on the island, thousands more were captive at home. Addiction, crime, and despair became the new local economy, the fallout spreading far beyond the compound walls. Hospitals and emergency services buckled under the burden of overdoses. Rehabilitation centers developed year-long waiting lists. The system, designed for ordinary crises, was breaking. Each dose sold on the street was a life diverted, a potential extinguished, a family shattered. The enemy had also changed. The old cartels evolved, shedding their gangster image to become sophisticated, multinational corporations of crime. They operated with private aircraft, a web of offshore accounts, and teams of legal counsel skilled at exploiting international loopholes. Their labs mirrored pharmaceutical facilities, Their logistics rivaled global shipping giants. They hid their poison in plain sight, concealed behind the logos of fake humanitarian aid organizations and backed by flawless shipping documents. Illicit financial wires were buried under layers of digital camouflage, routed through dozens of shell companies in a matter of seconds. To fight a network, you must become a better network. The response fused intelligence, special operations, and conventional military power into a single, adaptive weapon. Decisions and execution were compressed into minutes, not days. In this new conflict, vigilance wasn't just a virtue, it was the decisive weapon. As the sun rose over the carrier strike group, the waters of the Atlantic looked calm again. A deceptive peace. Beneath the surface, the ocean kept its fragments and its memory, a silent witness to the battle that was fought here. This was a line drawn, not on a map, but in history. A declaration that some acts of aggression will not be tolerated. It was a message written with precision-guided fire. You do not get to poison a nation and simply vanish into the shadows. The mission continues. It lives in the quiet hum of a server farm, in the keystrokes of an analyst, in midnight taps, and in the silent watches kept on distant horizons. For every plane fueled and base rebuilt by this new enemy, our answer is unwavering vigilance. The work of prevention is relentless. The ocean does not forget. It only waits.